Good morning, guys. Happy Sunday. I am Amanda here at Gardening Suburbia. I am in Zone 6 here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm getting ready to plant out some of my brassicas as well as some lettuces that some of I started from seeds, some I bought from a local greenhouse called Funky's here in my area, and I need to get them planted out. I probably could have planted some of these out about 2 weeks ago. The weather has been quite warm here in my area, but I didn't harden off my things quite soon enough, and I didn't want to bring them out just to be burnt up in the sun. You harden off your plants little by little, taking them outside every single day to get some sun, and that kind of makes it so that when you do bring them out to plant, they don't just shrivel up and die. So I've been doing that with some lettuces as well as some Kaminji greens, which is kind of like a different variety of spinach. It had some good reviews saying that it was really tasty. I do like spinach. I typically would use spinach in like smoothies, but if it's not quite as earthy, which is like the part of it that I typically stray away from, then maybe I'll go ahead and add it into some salads and whatnot, but we'll see. I have some broccolis as well as my Romanesco broccoli. It's broccoli. I did some more research on those, so it looks quite like a cauliflower, but it is in fact a broccoli. And then I have some early Brussels sprouts that are like an 80-day variety, which is awesome. And then I have hoary hound as well as St. John's wort. Both of those are medicinal herbs. I don't know if I'm going to be planting those out just yet. I may plant them out. I don't know. I'll have to do a little more digging on those because I am doing a Greenstalk medicinal tower with my 5-tier leaf. My 5-tier leaf tower. I'm going to do medicinal herbs in that. Some of them might not work. Some of them might. But those two I might put in my garden beds. I haven't quite decided yet. But behind me I have my brick bed that I built. In years past I've done garlic, which I have a lot of volunteer garlic coming up. I have carrots planted in this bed right now. And I've done beans, I've done my Tabasco pepper plants, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put my brassicas and some of my lettuces in this bed, solely for, I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't decide. Because this bed gets a lot of really direct sun. I don't know if I want to leave this for my tomatoes and peppers. My other option is the bed that's over there by that wooden bed. It doesn't get quite as much direct sun just because of the trees. It gets good morning sun and afternoon sun, but like about midday, the trees, once they're more fully leafed up, it starts to put a little more shade on that bed during midday. I think that's where I'm going to put my brassicas and my lettuces, because that's going to be where I think they're going to do the best, especially since it's going to be up in the 80s at the end of this week. And brassicas and lettuces tend to go to seed once it gets way too hot. So I think a little shade will do them well. So we're going to head over there, and that's where I'm going to plant this stuff. All right, so I want to be very transparent with you guys here on my channel. So I think it was in the fall. I'm not quite sure what month it was. We went ahead and planted out a whole bunch of my onion sets together that I had started way before then. And I made this mistake of not mulching my onions for the winter. So I will go ahead and show you guys how well they did. It's not very good. I do have some that came up, but a lot that just died back. So there are a few that are still up. And then way over here, there's a few that are up there. But once we get up to this point, there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4 onions. And then it looks like some of my crocus got transplanted by the squirrels over here. And I forgot to take this in for the winter. It got disconnected, but it sat outside in the weather the whole winter. So I don't know if my grip tape's gonna work quite as well. But yeah, so mistake was made. Onions may pull through, they may not, but we'll see. So I'm gonna go ahead and plant the stuff in this area since these onions did not do so hot. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up and test it. It's gonna get relayed if it's still working. If not, I'll have to go ahead and purchase a new one, which really sucks. So this year, I definitely will be more diligent in making sure that I put things away. I did put my hose away and unhooked it from the main valve, but I didn't get the tape. But let's get this bed prepped and set up for all of these guys because they need to go in the ground like soon, now, yesterday. I am currently having all of my fabric beds laid out, so I know exactly where the sun gets to them and how much sunlight they're getting, just because I want to be sure that they're getting at least that full sun, 8 hours or so of good sunlight, because one of these beds is going to be my cut flower bed and the other is going to be, I think, either tomatoes / peppers. So they need some good sunlight. So right now I have them laid out. They are not filled with dirt because I believe this Monday, so tomorrow, we are going to be getting a delivery of dirt thanks to, not dirt, soil. We're going to get a delivery of soil to my house here on Monday, thanks to my brother-in-law and my sister. So I just have my beds laid out right now with some pots keeping them weighed down, just so I can see where the sun gets them, because about midday the sun goes over my roof and a good portion of my garden, this back part from the back of my house to about where my Greenstalk is, there's a good shade line, and I want to be sure that these get good sunlight. But I'm gonna go ahead and take down my first and only trellis that I've ever owned. I got this thing off of Amazon. I then went ahead and actually wrapped it in chicken wire, just to give it a good base for things to climb on. Last season I had cucamelons, which is like those little Mexican sour gherkins, mini cucumbers, kind of sour, kind of not, depending on when you picked them. Super good. I don't know that, well, I am not planting them again this year. They are really tasty, but you really should start them inside about 12 weeks before your last frost, just because they are really slow growers, and my season is not quite long enough to plant them outside during the season. I also had some black beans trellised on this, so they were kind of fighting it out last year. But this trellis has rusted and is falling apart. This is the bottom part of the trellis. It completely snapped on one side, so it's now officially a foot shorter on this side than it is on this other side. But I think the plan, I'm gonna go ahead and try to use it again for one more season. I'm gonna put this in my 2 beds, so get them to be connected. I'm gonna try to connect these guys right here. Put a trellis between these two. I think that'd be really fun. Since my son comes over and, you know, over this direction, having the trellis right there won't really bother anything, as long as I don't have any pots behind it, and I don't think that I'm gonna have pots back there just because they won't get enough sun. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to use it for another season. It wasn't terribly expensive, but I honestly could have bought a cattle panel trellis, or cattle panel from like Tractor Supply for about the same price. I was doing research. I am gonna try to get cattle panels this year. They're like $25 in my area for like the 8-foot long ones. I really want to get another one, or one of those, to replace this current trellis here. And then I want to get another one to put in my tomato bed to train my tomatoes up on. just because my wood trellising system that I used last season wasn't quite, it worked. It got the tomatoes to go up, but it also completely fell apart by the end of the season. So I might do one of those over there. We'll see what happens. I might end up getting 3. I'm not sure yet. But I'm going to go ahead and get this guy all tucked away. He needs cleaned off because he still has all the dead vines from the beans and the cucamelons. And then I'll store him away until I'm ready to plop him in those beds. So I am going to put some compost and manure onto that bed before I plant things. I've got some Garden Magic that I got from Funky's. I got like 6 bags right now. I'm going to go ahead and just put about 2 inches on that bed just to give it a fresh layer of some good nutrients. It'll go ahead and give my plants a good starting point so that they have something to feed off of, as well as put some diversity into my soil. This soil bed, the soil in this bed tends to seep off just because the wall that it has is not attached anymore. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but this wall right here is no longer standing up, creating a good barrier. So when it rains or things get watered, the soil just kind of flows off the edges. I've thought about planting something like mossy or something like that to go ahead and keep some kind of barrier to help keep the soil in. But I don't know exactly what I could plant there that wouldn't just take over the entire bed. I could get this fixed, but I live in a rental and it's been like this since I moved in. So it's not really a top priority. I'm just gonna go ahead and put some nice, good soil on top of this and call it a day. So this is all of the fresh compost. I'm gonna need another bag. But just take a look at the difference in color of my soil. I mean, once you dig down in my soil, you get a richer color. But this compost is just so nice. It has almost the consistency of worm castings. So it looks so good. I haven't found any scraps of anything weird in this. There have been a few bits of larger mulch, but like compared to anything else that I've been kind of messing around with, this is the best that I've found so far. Guys, you won't believe what I just found in my asparagus bed, and I'm so excited. I'm gonna cry. Not really. But I planted quite a few crowns of asparagus in this bed last season. I believe that they were 2-year starts. I got them from Home Depot. I went ahead and I bought a couple more bags of, I think it was Mary Washington variety, and I have my first asparagus spears coming up and they look fantastic. I'm so excited. I just put some compost on here, but look. Look how beautiful. And there's another one over here. They were a little bit taller, but I put a couple inches of compost. Oh my gosh. And then I have some leeks. I think they're the King Richard leeks from last season. They pulled through the winter somehow. But I got asparagus. I'm so excited. So with that fresh compost, you're more easily able to see all of the onions that survived. I planted this entire area. So I had from here to here, where that last onion is right there, full of onions. And this is how many survived. My onions have not been very successful. So when I started seed onions, I think I did the red Cabernet, just like a red onion, which has more of a bite to it. It's a little more tangy than other onions. I only had one seed that grew. So I have one sole onion that I'm gonna be planting. That's okay. So it's looking good, but it's pretty pitiful when this is all the onions you get. I think for the Brussels sprouts, I think I'm gonna go ahead and plant them. I'm gonna kind of put them in here based on where these onions are, so we'll see where that goes. All right, here is the plant. So I have my Marketmore cabbage, or the Copenhagen cabbage, which is just a small variety of cabbage. I'm gonna put these guys down here. I wasn't paying attention to my broccolis that I started from seed because I have the broccoli di Chico. That sounds like an Italian, and I feel like I butchered that. And I think that's the Sun King variety right there. So I accidentally mixed those two varieties of broccoli up. I do need to go ahead and pick the stronger of the two. These look really sad right now, but I'm hoping that once they get in the ground and I water them, they will be happier. But I'm gonna have to go ahead and take one of the seedlings out because I didn't quite thin these guys enough. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put my Brussels sprouts right here. I had success with those guys right there last season. And then I have some lettuces that are gonna be on the edges. And then finally I have the Romanesco broccoli. Those two guys will go right there. And then I haven't quite decided if I wanna put these where I wanna put these guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on these two for now. They look like they're doing just fine in their pots. So let's get these in the ground and then go from there. So I have most of it planted. Just I have some of my lettuces and my cabbage. I forgot that I have celery that also needs planted. I don't know if I'm gonna plant it in this bed. This bed gets quite dry and celery really likes a lot of water. Celery is made up mostly of water. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and actually plant it in my kiddie pool here. I think that's gonna give it the best shot at success, and plus then I can have a bed dedicated to celery. I have all of my Kamenji greens, that spinach-like leafy green, planted down here by that bottom Romanesco cauliflower. My bad, broccoli. It's broccoli. And then I have all my Bib lettuce planted up here. This will be the first year that I've actually planted lettuce out as starts that I started by myself. Usually I just kind of sprinkle lettuce seeds in and densely pack and then just harvest them as little greens. But this year I wanted to go ahead and see if I could get some heads of lettuce. So I got my Bib lettuce. I have some iceberg lettuce, which he's kind of sad, but he should pull through. And then I have some of this really pretty variety. What is this? The bronze lettuce mignette. It has really pretty like purpling on it. And these guys look really happy. So hopefully I can get some good heads of lettuce this year because I think that would be awesome. Super excited to have some really delicious salads this year. I will have to go ahead and do another round of starts here in the next week or so. But super excited to have some really good lettuces. I actually planted some dinosaur kale down in my garlic bed and it's starting to poke its head up through the soil. So another thing I'm excited about. So we have our bed. I have some volunteer, I think these are sunflowers. I've got that guy and then I think this guy right there. And then this guy. They might not be sunflowers, but I feel like they are. I'm gonna leave them alone and just see what happens. And then I'm just gonna plant the rest of the bed with our celery. So this has been out for about a week or two. I left it out overnight for the past 2 nights. And we're just gonna see how he does in this bed. These already look so much better than they did last year. Last year, I think this was probably about the thickest stalk that I got, which is pretty pitiful. I think I wasn't watering them quite as, I don't think I was watering them quite as much as you're supposed to, just because you're supposed to give them a whole bunch of water, which is why I'm gonna go ahead and put them in this bed so that they get a good amount of water. I'm gonna space these about 4 to 5 inches apart. I probably would do like a staggering just so I can get them more densely packed than if I did them in rows. This bed is all finished. It looks so good. I left a good amount of room for those sunflowers. This one I kind of covered a little bit, but they will have enough room to grow if they are sunflowers, which I really think they are. But this bed's finished. Our other bed is finished, and we're so much closer to spring. The last thing I need to do for these beds is water them in really well. And I also have a few of my rock name tag things that I've made. I need to go ahead and remake some new ones and add like a UV protectant, just because they are fading quite a bit. But I can go ahead and put some of them out. I don't have one for everything, but I've got some. So I've got my musclin, which lettuce. So I'm just gonna put those in by the lettuces. And then I have some Brussels sprouts and broccoli. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to go ahead and enjoy any of my other videos, I'll go ahead and pop one up here for you guys. But until the next time, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.